Hey, alright, we back. Technical difficulties. Three, two, one. Welcome back to the A15 Exchange. I am your host, Chris Crenshaw, and we are live. From the 336, from the 336, from the 704, once again for episode 98, 10, the 30th edition, 50, 88 of the 815 Exchange, of the 815 Exchange, and very first time, for the very first episode of the 815 Exchange. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to start off this 815 Exchange, episode 17, I believe, with a memorial, with a moment of silence for one Nate Robinson. He was, well, statistically, besides just the eye test, which you can see, the worst defensive player in the NBA. Not just off the eye test, not just off of reputation. This man did not fall on his face on purpose. This man did not get knocked out and lose all credibility with anybody. I don't know how he was able to go back to his family and look them in the eyes. Look your kid in the eye and say, Dad, what happened? And you gotta be like, I don't know, son. He knocked me out. Got KO'd by Jake Paul. 10. Ladies and gentlemen, the first 10 I'm giving out here on the 815 Exchange. I'm giving my third, I believe, 10 on the 815 Exchange, and I'm going to give it to Album of the Year, and that is An Evening with Silk Sonic. Zoe Kravitz is a generational talent. Joe Chill, Joe Burr, Joe Brr, Joe Shiesty, Joe Cool, Joey Franchise, the King of the North, whatever you want to call him. I'm very disappointed that they thought this was a great idea, that this was just going to go ho-hum. This is stupid. It's mediocre decision making. 2 minutes to critically think on this, and you would have realized that this makes no sense. Not just because the players don't want it, not just because the managers don't want it, not just because the fans, which is the most important part of these clubs. It's supposed to be the connection between the club and the fans. Not only would you have realized that they don't want this, but you would have realized from a business standpoint, as I so gracefully laid out for you at 20 years old, that this makes absolutely no sense. Brady being the undisputed GOAT, of course, now is the real question. This man has more Super Bowls than any other team in NFL history. Yes, one man has more Super Bowl rings than any other team in NFL history. My goodness, you missed peak CONCACAF. I mean, this was the most entertaining soccer game I've seen in a very, very long time. I mean, one of the most entertaining, classic, chaotic CONCACAF soccer games I've seen in a long time, ladies and gentlemen. We had disallowed goals. We had set pieces. We had stars being stars. We had fans throwing bottles of piss and soda and popcorn. We had fights. We had trash talk. We had late winners. We had suspicious activity with VAR. We had it all. We had peak CONCACAF activities. The things that Kylian Mbappe did to Danny Carvajal in that game, he should be charged. He should be charged with assault. It was disgusting. I mean, it was disgusting. It was dominant. Without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen, Ocho, signing off.
that was it's been a long 100 episodes, but let's do this properly, shall we? Chris, intro. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. I'm your host, Chris Crenshaw, and we are live from the 704 once again for episode 100 of the 815 Exchange. And well, I mean, we've got kind of all the nostalgia. I mean, it's going to be a little bit of a nostalgia show today, but we got all the nostalgia out. All right, we do have a regularly scheduled activities to talk about here. In the NBA Offseason. We got the Stanley Cup Final, which was last Sunday, which I'll probably start off with and knock that out. Cale Makar and everything there. We have a bunch of stuff to talk about in TV. We have there's plenty to talk about. There's plenty to talk about. UFC 276. So we do have regularly scheduled content, but episode 100, crazy. Nearly 2 years of this, and it's been fun. It's been fun, all 100 episodes, whether we were in the 336, or we were on the 704 on the blue couch, or we were here on the 704 on the black couch, wherever it's been, or back in the 336 on the beige couch, whichever couch we've been sitting on this, and I've put this camera, this Nikon D7000, in front of my face, and I've talked to you on a Sunday or a Monday about what's happened in sports and entertainment, or it was an NBA draft preview, or it was just me talking with my friends, or it was the sleeper segment, or it was at the buzzer, or whatever it is. It has been a pleasure to do this for 100 episodes, and here's to 100 more. Appreciate all of the love. Of course, we just passed 700 subscribers, so that's super dope as well. Kind of hitting that 100 episode, 700 sub mark, kind of nearly at the same time, so that was super cool. Whether you came here from the reactions or you came here from, just finding this through 815 or you came through TikTok, it's much appreciated. As always, remember to like, share, and subscribe if you guys are, in fact, enjoying the content. And as always, as I always say, everything you're looking for, everything you want to find, everything you desire in this world can be found in the description. So timestamps, all right? Timestamps. I even included one for the intro, for the cold open, all right? If you wanted to skip past the cold open and get to me actually talking about what happened, you're past the sentimental stuff. Congratulations, Chris, your 100th episode, blah, blah, blah. Talk about what actually happened this week. Feel free. We got timestamps. Skip ahead. I know it's long-form content. So whatever segment you're looking forward to, you can just skip ahead. And as always, follow me on my social medias. That is also in the description. IG, Twitter, Snap, TikTok, whatever it is can be found in the description. Now, without further ado, we've had some very, very memorable episodes, and we might make this a very, very memorable episode concerning what happened in college football, but we'll leave that for the roundup, for the finale. But for now, ladies and gentlemen, let us begin episode 100. And I know I said I was going to start with the Stanley Cup Final. You know what? I still am. I know traditionally we start with soccer or MMA, but we are going to do an exception because this happened last Sunday and it's been a week. Okay, it's actually been 8 days as the time because I am recording this on a Monday. Happy 4th of July, by the way. But Stanley Cup Finals, Colorado took business, took care of them. I said it all playoffs long. Team of destiny, and Colorado was undisputedly the team of destiny. They took out the team of death. They made them look human. They made them look mortal. And in Game 6, Nathan McKinnon saved his best game of the series, I'd say. 1 goal, 1 assist for Mac. He's him. But he wasn't the biggest him on that team, right? He's a superstar, no doubt about it. But Cale Makar is the best defenseman and one of the best players. He is a top 5 player minimum. And I will hear discussion for top 3. I will field that discussion. If you want to argue that, I'm here for it. I ain't got nothing. If you want to say he's top 2, I mean, obviously not the best, that's McGee's, but top, if you want to say he's second, I might even hear that argument. He's only the 3rd defenseman ever to win the Norris Trophy for Best Defenseman, Stanley Cup Finals, and win the Conn Smythe. 29 points in this entire playoffs for Cale Makar. That's over a point per game. Third man to ever do it behind, I don't know, the other two greatest defensemen to ever live, Bobby Orr and Nicholas Lindstrom. Who, by the way, I was looking up Lindstrom's stuff. I was just revisiting that. He won all 7 of his Norris trophies after the age of 30. Cale Makar is 23. So just insane trajectory Makar is on here. He's a beast. He's a monster. Him, Matt, this entire Avalanche team, Kadri. I could go on and on about the stars and the heroes I've talked about for the Avs all playoffs long. And yeah, it's a well-deserved. Tampa Bay, fantastic team. They won 2 championships. Dynasty prevented, but, you know, all the credit in the world to Colorado. They are killing the Stanley Cup, though. I'm going to be honest. They are. That thing is going through the wire. Okay? That thing is going through the wire where it was getting dented before it even left the ice. I forget who, but blacked out in the club with it and fell backwards. That clip is all over Twitter. The Stanley Cup is going through hell right now. But you know what? You just win the Stanley Cup. You get to do whatever you want to it. I looked up some crazy stories with what's happened to that trophy. It's crazy how one of the most prestigious trophies you can win in sports has been through everything that the Stanley Cup has been through. Shout out to the people that take care of it and knock all those dents out because they're going to have to put in the shift because the Avs are going crazy. But well-deserved. Shout out to Joe Sakic and everybody in the front office. Avs are your Stanley Cup champions. Now to head over to the UFC. No boxing this week, so I'm not going to title it Combat Sports. We're not even going to do that. UFC 276, of course, it was headlined by the double title fights. And what they were trying to promote it as like the Super Bowl of the UFC's, you know, kind of calendar this year, if there was a Super Bowl. We've had some great cards this year. We have had some great cards. We've had some great fights. And we have talked about those here. Even some cards in which I did not expect to be that great ended up being great. This card was not that great. I'm going to be completely honest with you. There was star power littered all over this card, but it was not that remarkable. However, we will still talk about what happened here. Starting with the main event, Israel, the last Stylebender Adesanya, came out as the dead man. And he didn't dead Jared Cannonier, but he was able to UD the Killer Gorilla. The 2 title fights were kind of similar in a way. Even though Volk's was much more vicious and much more exciting, it was really just kind of a case of 2 guys that are just on different levels. Izzy was clearly on a different level than Cannonier. Volk was clearly on a different level of Max, and we'll talk about that next. But Cannonier he didn't... We talked about the power all week. And even I kind of got wrapped into that again when concerning Izzy and another one of his opponents. Oh, the power. If he gets hit, you know. But Cannonier was never able to. And in everything that he was, Izzy's chin, or he was just too good defensively, he was just better. He was just better. People have to stop. Fighters have to stop trying to kickbox with Israel Adesanya. It's not going to work. It's not going to work. It's not going to get you anywhere. You're either going to fire away, get too aggressive, and get knocked out or finished, or he's just going to piece you up the entire time like he did Jared Cannonier and point his way to a win. You cannot sit there and kickbox. Unless your name is Alex Pereira, who we'll also get to a little bit later, do not kickbox with Izzy. Just don't do it. It's not going to work out for you. The other thing that was wrong with Cannonier's game plan is, okay, he got to the clinch. He didn't do anything with it. Yes, he was trying to do the knees, but you got to advance. You got to make something happen. The judges do not care about that. That's beautiful. You held him against the cage, and he put on a great defensive clinic of how to get out of that and how to take minimal damage. Like if you do that, you got to do something with it. You got to try to either take him down, fire off some more vicious knees, some elbows, make something out of it, right? You can't just, it's not going to do anything. It's not going to do anything. And it just kind of wears the fight. So Cannonier he's just not on Izzy's level, but very, very few are. Izzy's still a middleweight champion. It wasn't the most exciting defense. I'm not going to sit here and lie to you. The entrance was probably the best part of that fight. But Izzy rolls on. He will take on next. Probably somebody will talk about, and I don't know, 2 fights. Let's knock the first one of those two off. Volk takes out Max to become the featherweight GOAT. I don't think it's really a discussion. He beat Aldo, and now he's swept Max. He swept Max in the trilogy. Now you can argue one of those should have been a draw, or maybe Max should have won. But on record, Alexander Volkanovski has swept Max Holloway, and he left no doubt in the third fight. If there was doubt in the first, if there was doubt in the second, understandable. There was no doubt. No doubts in the trilogy fight. Listen, Kamaru Usman or Alexander Volkanovski could be, I mean, you might as well put T1, tied for first place pound for pound. Because Volk is just that much better than everybody at featherweight, which is why you mentioned going up to 155, and Kamaru just seems to be that much better than everybody at welterweight. Just nobody touching them. There's nobody touching them. Volk was on a different plane of existence than Max. I don't know if it's Max is slowing down or Volk just keeps getting better. Even at 33 years old, just seemingly continues to get better. I've never seen him sharper. I've never seen him faster. In his fight IQ has been incredible from the start. City Kickboxing is one of the best gyms in the world. It's a recipe for success, and he's unstoppable right now. He's unstoppable. He is untouchable in that division. And it looked like he was untouched in this fight for a lot of it. Because, I mean, Max just could not figure out the timing. It's funny, going from the Calvin Kattar fight where Max was all, went to the Matrix and was, I'm the best boxer in the UFC, to him getting outboxed by Alexander Volkanovski in this fight. And it wasn't remarkably close. Max looked like the people that Max usually fight. He got butchered up. That cut was vicious. Now the blessed one will still be going to the Hall of Fame, of course, and still, if you have a Mount Rushmore for the featherweight division, he would be up there. And he still may be the true number one contender. He might just be better than everybody else in that division. It's just that he happened to be born at the same time as Alexander Volkanovski, who is the undisputed, in my opinion, and we can argue this, the undisputed featherweight GOAT. He's the best to ever do it at that division. 155 is going to be very interesting, whether that's Charlie Olives or Mike or Dustin or Justin or whoever it is at 155 or Islam. Going to be very interesting. Going to be very, very interesting. Him and Mike are around similar heights, around that 5'6", 5'5" kind of height. So, well, Mike actually might be a little bit taller. I feel like Mike is only like 5'6". I think he might be listed at like 5'8", but I'm not convinced. I'm not convinced. But it'll be interesting. It'll be interesting to see, does Alex lose any of that strength? Does he lose any of that sharpness going up 10 pounds? Or does he feel even more refreshed because that's less weight that he would have to cut? So, very interesting to see what happens next for Volk. He's cleaned out that division essentially. He's the best. He's the best in the world. Best in the world and the best of all time at featherweight. Undisputed. Alex Pereira is the truth. He's the truth. At least on, stand up, he's the truth. He's the truth. Which we knew. If you knew, dude was one of, if not arguably, the best kickboxer on the planet at one point in time. Certainly in his division, at least. Listen, I had a feeling. I tweeted this out, by the way. I tweeted this out before the fight. I was like, I have a feeling that Alex is going to knock out Strickland. I just had a feeling. Sean Strickland, by the way, talking reckless the whole weekend. People that hate Izzy were just all up in arms, just loving Strickland at the press conference. But I was very confused by that. I was like, you're talking about getting to Adesanya, you gotta beat Alex. Cause if you can't be, you focused on Izzy, you might end up how Izzy ended up in that second Pereira fight. You might end up knocked out. And that's exactly what happened to Sean Strickland. That vaunted left hook of Alex Pereira landed and put Strickland to sleep. Put him to sleep. He wasn't out cold, but he was very much so lost on his feet. He felt a little sour about it. It is what it is. You got KO'd, bro. You got KO'd. Had a little bit too much dip on your chip. I respect confidence. But maybe you should have focused on Alex, right? Done a little bit more tape instead of worrying about the Stylebender. Because now Alex gets to worry about the Stylebender. Now becoming one of MMA's biggest rivalries, or at least story rivalries. Looks like it's going to get his trilogy fight here in the UFC. Of course, as many of you now know, Alex Pereira and Israel Adesanya might have a little bit of history. They fought 2 times in their kickboxing years. I think Pereira's up 2-0, technically. So Izzy was looking for the get back. They were very competitive fights. Now I've actually watched these fights. They were very competitive fights, and honestly, before Izzy in that second fight was getting KO'd, he was winning that fight. He was winning that fight. That's not Izzy's like bravado or pride or any of that. These were very, very competitive fights. This wasn't like Alex starched Izzy. Izzy was, getting knocked out. It was a very, very competitive fight. So that's not like blasphemy from Izzy. It's going to be very interesting to see what this looks like in MMA in the octagon. Because on one hand, Izzy, I would have to imagine, is a much more well-rounded fighter than Alex. However, they're both kickboxers, and they both are going to tend to that kickboxing style. Is Izzy's pride going to make him kickbox with Alex when there might be other ways to win, or easier, better ways, more efficient ways to win? Is his ego, is his pride, no pun intended, going to push him to, I have to knock this guy out, right? I have to kickbox with him. I have to prove that I'm the better kickboxer rather than I have to prove that I am the better fighter. That's going to be an interesting storyline going on there. Alex needs to become a much more well-rounded. Listen, he can kickbox and stand up with everybody, but the other elements of his game are lacking. He's going to need to improve on those, even if Izzy's not that much of a, takedown threat. Still, potentially in the grappling game, if Izzy can make those changes, and I would assume he'd probably focus a little bit more on those, incorporating those other elements of MMA. Alex is going to need to prepare for that. As well as prepare for the stand-up, as always. He's going to need to be prepared for the other elements. So it's a very, very intriguing fight. Of course, the history's there. The hype will be there. Pereira off this knockout. Izzy kind of in this villain, sometimes hero, depending on whatever fight was last. It's an interesting story. And it's going to be very, very interesting fight. Now, for the rest of the card, Robbie Lawler. Robbie. It was a hell of a fight versus Brian Bandera, but listen. Robbie, please. I listen. For a moment there, it looked like you still got it, but please stop damaging your brain. You do not have to do this for us. You are a Hall of Famer. You can ride off in the sunset. I don't know if you need money. Just don't end up like BJ Penn, all right? Please don't go out like BJ Penn and lose 10 straight to end your career, and it's just sad at the end. Just don't go down that path, Robbie. You were too good. You're too good of a guy to go out like this. Please, Robbie. Please. Shout out to Brian Bandera. That was a war. That was probably my fight of the night. What was not my fight of the night was Sugar Sean O'Malley versus Pedro Munoz. Now Munoz apparently was legitimately hurt, but that looked like a very softer compared to some of the eye pokes we've seen. That one did not look as bad. However, it seems like he's legitimately hurt, so we'll leave it at that. But Sugar Show gets in no contest, so I guess he's now 14-1-1 or whatever it is. Or 15-1-1. Yeah, it's 14-1-1. He's 14-1-1. I think he was pretty much turning the tide and was probably going to win the fight. But, hopefully they can run it back at a later date. And to end off the UFC 276 card, Cowboy Cerrone gets retired by Jim Miller. Hats off to Cowboy. Great career. He was, long time, long years of service. Fought a billion fights for the UFC. Probably will make the Hall of Fame just because of his, years of service and him being a character. So I can see him making the Hall of Fame. I don't know if I'd have him in there off of just pure skill, but off of the character, off of his service, I could see him making it. But Jim Miller, who looked really good at 170, he mentioned that in the Embedded series, that he felt more comfortable, he felt refreshed. He looked refreshed, then he got the KO on Cowboy Cerrone. But, UFC 276, it was an okay card. It wasn't the worst card ever, it wasn't the best card ever. It was somewhere in the middle. But Volk, he's just the GOAT. Keeping the momentum going, we're going to go over to entertainment, which is really just TV this week. Nothing happened in movies. Nothing happened in movies that was pretty much relevant or we need to talk about. Nothing happened in music. I honestly can't even recall who dropped on. Somebody dropped on Friday, but I cannot tell you actually who dropped on Friday. I know I did the reaction stuff, so you want to check that out, you can check that out. I think it was J-Hope and Sunny, but besides that, I don't think anybody dropped the music. Now you can let me know, but I do not recall anybody dropping. Now I was busy on Friday night, but that was Friday night. Friday morning I do not recall anybody dropping. But nonetheless, we did have stuff happen on TV, and of course we had the aftermath of Herogasm in The Boys, I believe episode 7, Butcher's PTSD. That was a very interesting character evaluation and kind of reflection of Billy Butcher. You know, we've seen everything, and Carl Urban plays him fantastically. We see everything with Butcher and how he acts, and it was nice to have an episode like this that kind of provides context. Kind of, you hear about these certain stories and elements, and getting to see, you know, this childhood trauma that helped form him into what he's become and form the decisions that made him what he is, and him slowly kind of become his abusive father, right? You could slowly start to see over the years the way he started acting towards his brother, right? And then you could see the remorse as him back in reflection, kind of watching everything take part, you know, and take place. So yeah, it was just a very, very good character evaluation of Billy Butcher. In another connection that he has to Homelander, who, as we found out, spoiler alert, is always on all these TV segments. Soulja Boy is technically his poppy. And not in a way that, you know, Eddie Guerrero was Dominic Mysterio's poppy back in, what, 03, 04? No. Or 05? Soulja Boy is technically genetically his poppy. That's his dad. Which is terrifying. Because Soulja Boy felt very remorseful, and it felt like a team up was coming, which is going to be a problem for everybody. Because I do not know. I mean, somebody's dying next week. I mean, we knew this, but if they team up, somebody is getting murked next week. Somebody that we love is getting murked next week, or is getting sacrificed. Because there is no way you're going to fight Soulja Boy and Homelander, who were the two most probably OP characters on this entire series. Nobody's walking out of that unscathed. Nobody. So, it's going to be interesting to see what happens there. But the connection is kind of seeing how Homelander is becoming more like Soulja Boy, I guess technically looking back at Soulja Boy's history, and Butcher's becoming more like his father. It's just another connection between those two, and how, you know, they're becoming the people they never wanted to be, right? Even though Homelander grew up idolizing Soulja Boy, you know, after meeting him, he just didn't want to be like him, and now he's becoming more like him. So it's just an interesting narrative, and another connection between those two. Kamiko decides to get her powers back. Her and Frenchie, listen, please. I've said it for the past couple weeks. Please, showrunners, Kripke, please, just let them be happy. They deserve happiness. Very few people in this series deserve happiness. They deserve happiness. Huey has somewhat lost the plot, but I mean, there's nothing new. Starlight's still trying to save him, working with Mother's Milk, MMM. But probably the most vicious thing, the most savage thing this week was A-Train survived his, heart attack, I don't know what you want to call it, after he killed Blue Hawk. He survived. He got a new heart. He got Blue Hawk's heart. You got the racist that paralyzed your brother's heart, and now you get to live, and you get a new grip on life. That felt like justice for every, terrible, horrific thing that A-Train has done. That felt like very perfect karma. The one thing that actually affects you and that you tried to do something about ended up being for you to get his heart. You have a racist's heart. A-Train has a racist heart. It's just, that's just perfect writing. That's perfect writing. Perfect writing, perfect way to envelope that storyline. But yeah, it was justice. It was justice. He had it coming. We'll see if he can try to get on the path of redemption. But yeah, next week's, or I guess this week's season finale looks like it's going to be a madness. So we'll see what happens there. Miss Marvel, of course, we talked about this very, very briefly. Kareem and Kamala and the Red Daggers, got to see them. She went over to Pakistan. Yeah, she went over to Pakistan this week. And yeah, got Sinani and all that stuff, and just kind of it's moving along. It's moving along. I think this may have been my favorite episode, to be honest. The clandestine still trying to get kind of an envelope with them. They've been, threatening villains, still trying to. I mean, there's little things I can nitpick. I won't nitpick too hard, but yeah, Kamala, by the way, she's got the sauce apparently, because they're just flocking to her. They're flocking to her. Kareem, Cameron, and now Bruno is like, it's turning into the Bachelorette. It's turning into the Bachelorette right now for Kamala. But yeah, it's interesting also to see how her outfit, right, is slowly forming, right? Her attire, superhero attire, is slowly forming. It's kind of like playing a game. Someone I saw compared to this. It's kind of like playing a game, and you get these little artifacts as you go through the game and complete these missions that you get that slowly become a part of your like armor or a part of your like attire. It slowly builds up to like whatever your main or your end attire is. It kind of is doing that, so that's kind of cool to see. But yeah, Miss Marvel has not been bad. From what I thought, it has not been bad, and I think last week's episode was very, very good. So if you want to check it out, I would recommend it. Also, Umbrella Academy came back. Stranger Things did too for Netflix. I'll probably get started. I've gotten so many Stranger Things recs, so I will watch Stranger Things. Fine, I will bite the bullet and I will watch it. We can talk about it here. All right, I will watch Stranger Things. But I started on Umbrella Academy. I think it's season 3. It's been very good. It's been very, very good. Seeing the difference between Sparrow Academy, Umbrella Academy, and the relationships there. I do not know how they're going to get Marcus back, so do not spoil that for me or how they're going to get anybody back. But yeah, it's been a very good season of Umbrella Academy. I hope they get renewed for season 4. If this wasn't supposed to be the end, I hope they do get renewed for season 4. I'm very interested. I'm kind of invested in the Sparrow Academy as well. So yeah, I hope nothing too bad happens to them. But it has been a very, very good series so far. Now, as I take a sip of water, because I'm going to need it for this one. No sponsor. This is just regular Great Value water. So sorry Masani, sorry Deer Park, sorry Aquafina, whoever it is. Sorry about it, Fiji. It's just Great Value water. But the NBA offseason has been, normally during the NBA, right? We might talk about this in like the Roundup, but no, I have to actually, because of everything that happened this week as free agency opened. I have to have a full, potentially my longest segment of the day is going to be the NBA. Now, I was going to bring the boys on here, but, it is July 4th. People are going back home, so we're going to solo it. But it has just been, it's been a crazy, one of the craziest starts, in my opinion, to any NBA offseason. We'll start off KD and Kyrie. Well, let's get straight to it, right? Let's get straight to it. A lot of questions whether Kyrie was going to come back. Does he even want to be a Net? Does he want to be in Brooklyn? They couldn't find a trade, so then he opted back in. 24 hours later, after Kyrie opts in, KD says, I want to be traded, Joe. I did not mean to do that. No pun intended. I want to be traded. Here are the teams I'm looking at. I think it was like the Suns, the Heat, and some other people. I want to be traded. 24 hours, and I think it may have been less than that, after Kyrie opts in. So that was crazy. So now the big discussion is, where is KD? Where is Kyrie going? Are they going somewhere together? Do they just want to get out of Brooklyn? Is that it? And then for Brooklyn is done. They're finished. All right, they are screwed by this entire situation. Now there is a scenario where they both end up staying. I wouldn't even rule that out. That is a possibility. However, I don't believe that's probably the case. I think they probably go separate ways, because Kyrie, obviously, the landing spot that everybody thinks, and even, when I put this question into the group chat, everybody was pretty much believing LA. Everybody's thinking the Lakers. I think everybody in their mama are thinking the Lakers. If they can make that work, however many team trade it needs to be, Katie and Kyrie, I mean, not Katie and Kyrie, but Kyrie and Braun seems to be the scenario there, which is funny after it seemed like, Kyrie wanted to get out of Braun's shadow, and then, all these years later, he's going right back. They were great as a tandem. Who knows how many championships they could have won if that team stays together and they were able to build around that. But it is what it is. Looks like Kyrie's going to go back. If they can find a way to get him to LA, that seems to be the spot. KD's situation is a little bit more, who knows, right? We got some people saying KD to the Heat. We've got people saying now KD potentially going back to the Warriors, which would be very, very ironic and also very, very unnecessary and just unwarranted, because we do not need that to happen, because I'm enjoying the balance of the league where it just feels like there's multiple teams that can win and we just don't have this one team that is clearly... Let's not do that again. Let's not do the greatest team of all time part 2. Please, please, please. I think KD also mentioned the Suns, but the problem is, you know, inserting him on paper into those teams is like, okay, yeah, that's a championship contender, or that's like an amazing team. But you're going to have to give up something back. And that's even the case in Kyrie, is who are you going to give back? Because the Nets' asking price is going to be ginormous. I think it's 2 All-Stars and some first-round picks. Who is willing to sacrifice, or like a young star, who is willing to sacrifice that to get Kevin Durant? Now, KD, top 5 player in the world. Some would say top 3. Some would probably say top 1. I wouldn't go that far, but again, one of the best players in the world, one of the greatest scorers of all time. Pretty much any team you put him on that's got, you know, a good team around him is a championship contender. But are you willing to sacrifice your future? Are you willing to sacrifice what you've built for him at this age, at this stage in the game? Are you willing to do that? That's going to be interesting to see. I'm sure somebody is, and I'm sure somebody will, but that's going to be very interesting to see. But yeah, KD and Kyrie, it's a huge story. Let me know who you think KD is going to. Let me know who you think Kyrie's going to. Nets are down horrendous. Like I said, they're screwed. The Rockets have their next 6 first-round picks. So it's wraps. It's over for them. I don't know how you fumble this. This is one of the greatest fallouts and greatest implosions in NBA history. It's certainly going to be one of the most infamous. I remember, and I was looking back because I was going through to make the thumbnail. I don't know if I made it the thumbnail for this episode, but made that kind of screen grab of all of the different titles. Going back and talking about the Nets on like episode 40 or whatever, and it's like, yeah, this is the greatest team of all time. This is a ring. If they stay healthy, this is a ring. And we went from that to this team just fell apart. So it's just a crazy whiplash to see, kind of going back and forth after doing that. But yeah, the Nets can just completely bottle this. Completely bottle this. We'll see where KD and Kyrie go. A lot of people got paid. I mean, it's Rich Paul season, man. What a life Rich Paul lives. Get my boys paid. I go home to Adele. Rich Paul is him. All right, he is him. He is living the life. Zion, DG, Joker gets the richest contract, by the way, in NBA history. 5 years, 270. John Morant, Devin Booker, Cat, Bill, all get the max. All get the max. Well deserved. I don't have a problem with any of those guys getting the max, and to be completely honest with you, not a problem with all of them. Also, all stars at the very least. A lot of those guys, superstars like Zion, like Joker. So yeah, congratulations to the boys. Y'all got paid. Y'all got paid. A lot of those kind of, guys from 3, 4, 5 years ago getting those big time contracts as they've, proven whether they're what they are, or they're not, a little bit lower on this level, but a lot of these guys showed they were worthy of the max contract, and they got it. Now, one of these guys is involved in this next thing. Karl Anthony Towns now forms, after we talked about the Den Towers and Poku and Chet, we got the Twin Towers, just the regular Twin Towers, because the Jazz have decided to blow it up. But I don't know why the Timberwolves took Rudy and Cat. I also saw one of my friends said, if you combine Rudy and Cat, then you have one really, really good center. Because, Cat doesn't play defense, but he's a great offensive player. Rudy's not great offensively, but he's an amazing defensive player. So you put that together, you have the best center in the league. Best center in the league. Interesting. It's going to be interesting. I feel like the floor spacing could be kind of, even though Cat definitely plays on the perimeter, right? One of the greatest three-point shooting big men of all time, statistically. But I don't know. It's going to be an interesting fit. I'm sure Cat's going to move to the 4 and they'll put Rudy at the 5, but it's just going to be weird. It could work out really, really well. Alongside Ant Edwards, it could work out really, really well. Amazingly, Timberwolves are a really, really good team. They're a contender. They have a big 3, and now they're a contender. But I could also see this being like, okay, I could see it backfiring. It's an interesting fit. I don't know if it's a trade I would have made if I was the Timberwolves, but nonetheless, it's the one that they did make. So we'll see how that transpires. They traded, let's see. Jazz got 4 first-round picks. They ended up with 6 total after all the trades they did. Walker Kessler as well was included in this deal. Pat Bev and Jared Vanderbilt as well. But yeah, huge haul for the Jazz. So in terms of them rebuilding and restocking that team around Spida, they've got it going. They've made the right moves. I don't think they were going to win with Spida and Rudy. It just wasn't working. So I don't have any problem with them blowing it up. And, them trying something new. I think Kessler's a pretty good prospect. At the very least, he'll be a very good defensive player, in my opinion. Dude was one, if not, alongside Mark Williams and Chet Holmgren, the best shot blocker in college basketball last year. I think he won Defensive Player of the Year as well. So, yeah, Kessler brings a lot to the table, almost like a younger version of Rudy, potentially. So, no complaints there for the Jazz. But for the Timberwolves, it's going to be a little interesting. It's going to be an interesting fit. The Celtics made a huge move and picked up Malcolm Brogdon. I love that. I love that for them. Traded away Thieves. You traded away Aaron Naismith in a first. But I like the pickup of Brogdon. I do. Great defender. He can play make. Does a little bit of everything. It's a great piece to put into that Celtics team. And again, like I said, you do not need to blow this team up. But you need a guy like getting a Brogdon, right? I like that move for the Celtics strategically in terms of trying to get back. You went to the dance. You didn't make it. You didn't have enough. Get better. Do not blow it up. Do not pull Lakers, and the Celtics appear to not be pulling the Lakers. Brogdon is an excellent pickup. You didn't have to give up too much, so I'm all here for it. Great move by the C's. John Wall finally bought out after being the highest paid assistant coach essentially in the league for the Houston Rockets. He got bought out by them and ended up with the Clippers. Listen, if John Wall is healthy and is John Wall old, that Clippers team is a contender, once again, if Kawhi comes back and wants to play basketball. But, it depends on what type of John Wall we're getting. The contract is pretty low risk, so I don't blame the Clippers for going for it. I would have probably gone for it. Because if you're getting John Wall, as John Wall was, you're getting one of the best point guards in the league. But I just don't know. It's been essentially 2 years since we've seen John Wall, so I don't know if he's still John Wall. We'll see. It's low risk, high reward, so I don't blame the Clippers. I don't blame Ballmer and them for doing it. But we'll see what happens, but I think it's a solid pickup for the Clippers. The Knicks got their guy, all right? The Knicks got their guy. Listen, I don't know if I would have given Jalen Brunson this much money, but the Knicks did. We've known, okay? The New York Knicks have been in desperate need, essentially since Stephon Marbury left. They have been in desperate need of a point guard for so long. They tried guy after guy after guy after guy. And Jeremy Lin had his spurt. D Rose was in bad for a period of time, but it's been point guard after point guard after point guard after point guard after point guard. And finally, the Knicks, I don't know, maybe it was desperation. They saw what Jalen Brunson did in the playoffs, and they thought, that is our guy. That is the point guard that we need. Now, Brunson could play very, very well. He could play the way he did in Luka's absence, and this could pay off, and he could be the point guard of the future for the New York Knicks. However, I don't know. It's a big investment. 4 years, 104, over $20 million a year. It's a very, very big investment for something that's not truly proven. Brunson's a good point guard, don't get me wrong, but is he that guy to lead this New York Knicks team around what y'all have? I don't know. It's an interesting move. We'll see if it pays off. But yeah, that was the worst kept secret heading into free agency, that Brunson was a Knick. It happened. He got paid, so yeah, shout out to his agent, but we'll see if it pays off for the Knicks or if it just becomes, similar to the Browns quarterback situation where it's who's the next one, who's next. The Hawks get DeJounte Murray in what was a huge move. A huge and a great move for the Hawks, pairing him with Trae Young. Those two get to reunite. The Spurs are going all in. All right, Pop is, for his swan song, he wants another great big man, and of course we have a great big man coming up in next year's draft. Generational prospect. We've talked about Victor Wembanyama on this podcast plenty of times, and we will be talking about him quite a bit in the future as we get closer and closer to his draft, because it is by all intents and purposes the Victor Wembanyama lottery. The Victor Wembanyama sweepstakes, whatever you want to call it. It's Wemby's, all right? This is Wemby's draft. It's the Wemby draft. We'll see if he can live up to the hype and the billing that, we have bestowed upon him here in the media and in the NBA. But the Spurs apparently have bought all in because they're going all in. They're going all in. They have blown it up. They said, DeJounte, we are rebuilding. Don't want you here. And it was a very respectful. That was nice to see, where there wasn't any bad blood. Both wanted his best interest. And yeah, it just kind of, I'm sure DeJounte, if he, I don't feel like he's the type of guy that would have complained about it. But I respect the Spurs organization for, once again, just being a great organization, being stand up to a player like that, because that could lead to him. Once, if the Spurs are able to build back, maybe DeJounte comes back, right? Maybe he comes back home and, tries to win a championship with them. But for now, him to the Hawks makes the Hawks better. And that's a team that needs to get better, right? They've kind of hit this, plateau. They're getting better, but they've kind of plateaued. You wouldn't really call the Hawks. You say they're a playoff team, but you wouldn't say they're a championship contender yet. So, picking up a DeJounte Murray helps potentially push them to that. So, we'll see what happens there. But yeah, Spurs all in on Wemby. In some sadder news, Miles Bridges. Yeah, that was just an ironic situation. A very ironic situation. I can't speak too much on it, but that was just, compared to where I was Wednesday, if you follow me on my stories, I was at the Hornets facility. And then 8 hours later, that situation. Listen, he fumbled the bag. And I don't mean that in the I'm focusing on him losing the money. Him being a terrible person fumbled the bag for him. He is just hours before you were about to get paid. And even though it doesn't appear he did this all in one day and this has been a pattern of behavior, if you just aren't a despicable human, you get millions, you get generational wealth. You were hours from generational wealth, but you, over a period of time, could not be respectful and just be humane to the mother of your child. You could not just give her the respect, even if you guys don't like each other, even if you are fighting. I mean, and I'm just putting this out there for and this goes back and forth, whether you are a male or you are a female, right? If you're a man or a woman in this relationship, do not put your hands on your significant other. Just don't do it. Do not do it. Just do not do it. It never, ever ends well. It never ends well. I don't care how mad you get. Walk away. And if they taunt you, keep walking away. Do whatever you have to do, but do not throw your life away. Do not throw your career away. And especially at the highest level, as we see with professional sports stars, do not throw away a chance to change your family's life forever by doing something stupid in the heat of the moment. Do not do that. Do not do that. Miles Bridges fumbled the bag, and it's just what he did. It's irredeemable. Normally, I give a little leeway, and it's innocent until proven guilty. But the evidence that Michelle showed is, that's pretty concrete. That's pretty concrete. Her son saying that's pretty concrete. Her injuries, listen. I've said what I've said, but it's a horrible situation, not just for the family. Horrible situation for the Hornets, because now it's like, this was a championship piece, and now it's worthless. Well, not a championship piece, but a rebuilding piece, and now it's worthless. It's done. It's done. It's a disgusting way to end the NBA segment, but it's been an exciting offseason. It's been a very, very exciting offseason. I'll probably try to get the boys on here one of these episodes so we can talk about it all together, because I think that'd be pretty entertaining. And you guys would probably like to see that. But it's been a very entertaining NBA offseason so far. Now, with that said, ladies and gentlemen, we have reached the roundup. And I include these pauses because I need to get my breath. because, and I included in the little montage of some of the finest moments we've had here on Day 15 Exchange, some of the funniest moments, even though I had to cut it short because it got very vulgar at the end of that, Super League rant. And I've probably also, I talked about Texas and Oklahoma before, and I did that. I didn't include that in the montage, but we have done that rant before. And you guys just know my overall sentiment on Super Leagues. Well, this one hit very, very close to home. USC and UCLA have decided to join the Big Ten. Now, normally I'm on here and I'm repping. I love USC. I really do. But this was, and like many things last week, were a test of my patience. It just makes no sense. It makes no sense. And I understand why. You are getting all of this money. I feel like we're running it back again. We're doing this again. And I cannot believe we're doing this again. Once again, the money, the greed. It cash rules everything around me. Could never be cream. Shout out to Wu-Tang. It can never be more prevalent. Now, Pac-12 probably could be paying their, schools more, whatever. But the money once again is overruling in the short term. So what is the long-term benefit? What is the long-term benefit of USC and UCLA going to the Big Ten? Because I once again do not see it. I do not see it. We're gonna make more money, right, in these initial years than we were making in the Pac-12. Yes. What is the benefit of going to the Big Ten? And why the Big Ten? That's my question. Why the Big Ten? Because USC and UCLA are a completely different culture fit. It's a completely different style. Hell, we don't even have some of the same sports for D1 as the Big Ten. Do you think USC is going to stroll out there with a hockey team? UCLA certainly doesn't have a hockey team. And I know Michigan or Wisconsin or Rutgers isn't walking around with a water polo team or a beach volleyball team. And now we have Maryland, who is on the dead end of the East Coast. And now you have LA, the two LA teams, dead end on the West Coast. Makes no sense. This makes no sense geographically. This makes no sense from a marketing perspective. Because once again, what is the appeal of USC and UCLA in the Big Ten? What is the appeal? At least with Texas and Oklahoma, they are somewhat close to the SEC region. Technically right beside it. USC and the USC and UCLA are in California. There is not a team in the Big Ten even close. They're going halfway across the country to play conference opponents. I mean, it makes no sense from a marketing perspective. No sense geographically. Financially, once again, let's do this once again and lay this out once again, because for some reason with these super conferences, y'all do not seem to understand, but I don't think you really care, to be honestly, at this point. You just care about the money, which I get it. These are businesses. These are businesses. The goal is to make the most amount of money. Sure, whatever. But long term, you're not going to really, I am finding it very hard. Very, very hard. It's a very risky investment at the very minimum. At the very minimum, I don't see it as a way to make money, but it's a very risky investment. If it pays off, maybe it could be profitable. But I don't understand why you so badly desire to cannibalize yourself. Let's talk about the money sports, right? You now have to face, in USC or UCLA's perspective, you now have to face OSU potentially every year, Michigan every year, Michigan State every year, Wisconsin every year. I'm not going to mention Nebraska because they suck. But you have to face them every year for the top. Purdue every year, Iowa every year, Minnesota, if they can get it together, every year. in their element. You're going to send a bunch of Cali kids who've lived in the heat all their life. Yeah, how are they going to deal with, going up to Wisconsin or Rutgers or Iowa or whatever up north in 20-degree weather in the snow? And yeah, they got it. I don't understand. I don't understand. Why do y'all want to cannibalize each other? And like I said, and I still don't care now that there's 2 of you leagues, I don't want a 3-team team in the playoff. I do not want a 3-loss team in the playoff. I don't want a 4-loss team in the playoff. I don't care how hard your schedule was. I don't care if you played 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 in the lead up and didn't make your conference championship. I don't care if you played the top 12 teams. You do not deserve to be in the playoff if you lose 3, 4 games. 2 games is testing it, depending on everything else. I don't know why, from a competition perspective, you would just want to cannibalize yourself so everybody can go 6-6. And I do not understand, bro. I just do not understand. Because over time, fans, and you've already seen it, that's the thing with like USC, right? We have seen the Coliseum get depleted, going from the Pete Carroll years to where we are now, hopefully on the right track with Lincoln Riley. We have seen the Coliseum slowly start to become emptier and emptier and emptier as USC, even in the conference that is essentially supposed to be ours, even though Oregon has kind of ran it for the past decade, we have seen that deplete and fan support become less and less and contract and contract and contract because we're mid or we suck or we're garbage. So let's go to a harder, more difficult conference outside of our culture, outside of our element. And what do you think is going to happen with us losing 4 games, 5 games, 6 games a year? It's going to continue to contract and contract and contract. And I'm not saying this in a way of ducking smoke, because it's not a good move for Ohio State. I don't know why you accepted us. I'm going to be honest with you. I don't know why either, because it's not better for you either. Because then you have less and less of a chance of making the college football playoff, which is the biggest money maker of all if we're talking about money, in terms of bringing money to these schools, is making it and playing in front of the biggest audiences in terms of football, besides the Super Bowl, you find all year. It makes no sense. I've come on here time after time after time again, and they will never understand. They truly will never understand, and I will never understand why they are so boneheaded and continue to do these super conferences and super leagues. Why not just make a super duper conference, since that's where this is all headed? Since we're just doing an arms race, this is eventually just going to end up with all of y'all in the same conference anyway. So what's the point, right? Because that's where this headed. Because that would make the most money, right? That's what would make the most money. Imagine I do not understand, bro. I do not understand. I'm tired of talking about it. It's dumb. It's stupid. It's foolish. It's mind-boggling. And as I always say, it is mind-numbing why we continue to do these super conferences and super leagues, because it doesn't matter how you look at it. It does not matter how you look at it. It's just dumb. It's just dumb. It's just so dumb. Anyways, racing, because we did have a solid week in racing. Tyler Reddick got his first career win in the Cup Series at Road America. He makes the playoff now, so congratulations to Tyler Reddick. First time the A-car has been in victory lane since Dale Jr., so it's been a long time coming. But yeah, Reddick wins at Road America. He conquers the road course. And in the British Grand Prix, we had another first-time winner. 2 first-time winners here in motorsports, or in racing. In F1, Carlos Sainz finally got his first career Grand Prix win in the British Grand Prix at Silverstone. He gets the first. Lewis back on the podium, by the way. This was a wild race. One of the best races I think F1 has had all year, and some were saying they've ever seen. It felt like there was so many different manufacturers fighting for the top. It wasn't like the tandem we've seen of, oh, it's Red Bull or Ferrari at the top, and then there's the rest. It was very competitive, back and forth. We had all different people kind of involved, fighting for the lead. Max finished 7th. Leclerc continues his misery. He finished 4th. However, I think Checo got 2nd, so there's that. I think George Russell crashed or something happened on like the 2nd lap, because I woke up to the Grand Prix already being on. and it was a crash in the second lap. I was in disbelief. But nonetheless, Carlos gets his first career win. Congratulations. And without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you guys enjoyed. And once again, man, 2 years ago, when I started this thing, I only dreamt of 100 episodes and what that would be like, and yeah, 100 weeks, 100 weeks. I guess I am too far in to go back. You know, I guess I've gone too far. I can't really go back on it now, but yeah, it's been fun. I still love doing this. I hope I can do this for 100, 200, 300 more, as much as you guys will keep watching and as much as the channel will keep growing. And yeah, it's been a big time reflective period, and I'm going back home, going back to the 336, so it'll be a big time reflection period, and hopefully we can get some new ideas of how to, enter this new era, because I feel like A15 is kind of entering. I feel like the channel, now hitting episode 100, it's time to go to that next level. It's time to evolve and kind of see what I can do differently, and how we can make this, again, the People's Podcast, how can we make this better and continue to evolve it. So yeah, it's been a pleasure though. This first 100 episodes, it's been incredibly fun. I'm grateful for everything that you guys done, everything that you said, for all the moments. Whether it was Maul, Will, Eddie, Raheem, Miguel, L, Trev, Zay, whoever writing in, you guys, the subscribers, commenting, Kobe, Mom, Dad, everybody, just all the support. And yeah, I'm very grateful. I'm very, very grateful for all the support on this. It's my baby. It's the first thing I ever did here on this channel. And it'll be the basis. It'll be the basis forever. And hopefully we can continue to, push and eventually make this one of the biggest sports media, kind of platforms in the world. And, interview different people alongside doing and go to that too, show model, whatever. So, yeah. Big plans in the future, but grateful to hit the century mark here. And yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed, because without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, for episode 100, Ocho, signing off.